We are live on Proline TV, also the Our Lads Football Network. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, and joining me once again for another Friday edition here on Proline TV, Mark Lawrence from Playbook Experts. You can check out the Playbook Experts channel. We have links in the description for all that great content, weekly newsletters, and more. Mark, how's it going?
I'm doing just terrific. Greg, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's always, it's always interesting because you do all this prep work in the beginning of the week. And, I even started on Sunday because I try to get a head start on college on Sundays, especially when I'm watching games and I record every game. I don't watch anything live. And so it gives me the opportunity to just stop everything and then work on some college and take, once the odds come out. So you're working on all that. And then all of a sudden, you zero in on Wednesday because Wednesday is the day that we have our shows. So we have the restaurant, Jim Feist's handicapping show. And then I'm on right after that with all of my picks for the week and all of my information. So I got to be ready by then. And then we've got the show, the Playbook ATS show that's on Thursday. But it's like right after that, like Wednesday show especially, once I get to Wednesday night, I feel like, I don't know. I get that feeling when you cram for something and then the cramming is over and then you feel like, why do I have all this time on my hands? Almost like you're like, I missed something or this doesn't feel right. And that's kind of how it feels every single week after Wednesday with all of that. Because obviously, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you work up until 10, 11 o'clock at night every night. And then you start up in the morning, the same thing. And then by time all of that information's done and you can't do anything else except injury updates just to follow that kind of stuff. It's a weird feeling.
It is. You're checking a lot of boxes these days, Greg, with everything you're doing with Proline TV and our shows and interviews and so forth and whatnot. So I know what you're saying. I do the same thing myself with my routine. My routine is basically the newsletters, the 2 newsletters, getting them ready. And I wish I could get to bed by 10 o'clock at night. Sunday night, it was 2 a.m. Monday, it was 4 a.m. And Tuesday, it was 4:30 a.m. So
that's not healthy.
No, but it's what you have to do.
That's right.
We do what we do.
That's it. And there's so much, especially when you're doing college, because there is no difference. It's sort of like John Hardoon always talks about this, our horse racing expert. Whenever we gear up for the Kentucky the Breeders' Cup, and hey, aren't you excited, John? He's like, well, I mean, there's no difference between the money that you make on the Breeders' Cup race than on a Tuesday qualifier. And it's the same thing with, there's no difference in whether you can make $1,000 on betting, Jacksonville State against Missouri State, as opposed to Georgia and Alabama. And that's why you put in the work, especially because of that's actually the edge that I feel like we can get in college football more than the NFL, because there's so much action and there's so much digging that you can create on your own if you really do the research, because most people don't. And therefore that gives you the edge.
Well, it does, and just think of it this way. If there weren't 132 college football teams and only 32 like the NFL, you wouldn't have as much of an edge, because all the information you're digging and scratching and clawing and finding is readily available a lot easier in the National Football League. So you're not finding anything exclusive per se. And it also means, like John Hardoon asked John, which would he rather handicap, the Breeders' Cup card or a day of claiming races? He would tell you the Breeders' Cup for sure. But like you said, he makes just as much money betting on a horse at the Breeders' Cup as he does that claiming horse.
Yeah, and also, and I know horse racing is different, but in horse racing, the better the races, the better the horses, the least amount of money you can earn. So those other races, the ones that are just your regular standard race, those are actually the ones that you stand a much better chance of hitting bigger payouts. And again, that's why, as fun as it is to handicap races, big races in horse racing, you can actually make a lot more money outside the big races. So
yeah,
totally different, I think, in football, of course.
They're the lower level group of 5 teams as opposed to what you're talking about, finding value in horse races with the claimers per se, as opposed to the big stakes races and handicapping nothing but prime time games. So, it depends on what you're looking for. You're looking for value, you're looking to ferret out. But, the thing I do first and foremost is, aside from my well-oiled machine, is I look for statistical advantages. And now that we're into this portion of the football season, a lot of them are appearing a lot more regularly.
Yeah. Speaking of the type of really good data and trends that you're able to pick up, and then of course I'm able to use as well. I want to be able to, I know that we have to get you on Jim's Wednesday show at some point as a guest, and I want to book you. We just had Krakenberger on.
Yeah. Bill Krakenberger.
Crackman.
Yes.
With a K.
Yes.
And he was talking about, he went on a rant about not agreeing with anybody who uses trends in football. And of course I started to laugh and said, man, when we book Mark, let's book Krakenberger. Let's have, that would be a really nice, because that's the thing that really is important, that everybody has their own system and everybody says, hey, if it works for you, because you can completely understand some people who will say things like, well, it doesn't, what the hell does it matter what happened? Because it wasn't even the same players or the same coaches or the same teams. None of that matters. As opposed to the other person who uses those trends religiously, and therefore, because he uses them religiously, like you do, there's a certain advantage that you have, and that's the advantage that you need, especially as we always say, if you're at least making 57 to 58% of your winnings on average for your football bets, you're doing pretty well.
Well, I would tell Krakenberger that I'm not handicapping trends. I'm handicapping teams, and I'm handicapping situations, and I'm running them through my database, and I'm looking at those situations. That's situational handicapping. That's not trend handicapping. And really, in truth, what it comes down to is when I sift through and do my situational handicapping in my database, my well-oiled machine, whatever sides it points to, and I begin to handicap the games. The trends that we talk about are added fuel to the fire, is all they are to. I'm not going to bet a game because a team is 12-0 to the spread on Tuesdays, for instance.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to bet that kind of a game. But
Sure.
if I'm handicapping a game and it happens to be playing on Tuesday and I like a side real well, and that team happens to be 12-0, I'll let you know about it. So that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's the cherry on the ice cream. It's
exactly.
The bonus that's what you're looking for to validate maybe your picks and to help you feel a little bit better about them. But again, it's still the law of averages. That's all it is.
Right.
Okay, so let's get to this. By the way, Mark, you might want to. I think it's lower. You've got the thing on top on your that's it. Perfect.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Now it looks like you're sitting up in class.
Stage manager. Right. Thank you very much.
You got it. All right. So before we get started, Dave has a question, man. He's with it already.
Firing him up, huh?
Yeah. Nice. So what do you think about this question here, Mark?
Well, what I like Dave a lot, and I think he's a good handicapper, a good student of the game. I like a lot of what he presents. Everything he asks is basically logical, which is where the first point is. But he asks me, I mentioned that I'm not a first half handicapper, a second half handicapper, an in-game handicapper. I'm not even a parlay player or a teaser player. And the reason I am not is I grew up following a lot of the legends in the world of football handicapping, Billy Walters, Bob Martin, those sorts of people. And what I've learned is, do what you do best, okay? And what I do best is handicapping the game. People who get into handicapping first halves, second halves, parlays, teasers, they're gimmicky. And the other part of the answer to that is I don't have in my database the ability to go out and factuate what happens to teams in first half games, second half games, teasers of more than, less than, all that type of stuff. I keep it plain and simple, and the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And that's what I do. I don't get caught up in, especially in-game handicapping. I think people who play in-game football wagering, they're just looking for action. They're basically looking for action, hoping that they feel that they have some value. But all it truly and matter, what it comes down to is it's your feeling against the odds maker. And I can assure you this, that when it comes to teasers and when it comes down to first half, second half betting, when it comes down to in-game wagering, the hold that the bookmakers hold is enormous. And they're doing it because it attracts people. And unlike an 11-10 edge that they have in straight wagering, on some of these proposition plays, they have a $1.40, $1.50, 60-cent edge. That's terrifically difficult to overcome, especially when you're trying to do it, not knowing whether or not you're thinking your thought process is correct. So that's the reason I avoid all that stuff, and I just stick to what it is I do best. I stay in my lane.
Yeah, and I would venture to say that the people who probably do the best with live wagering are people who do it a lot. Just like we just said, the trend religiously. If you do it a lot and you're really good at it, you have a feel for it, and maybe that's your thing, because you have your own business that takes about 90% of your week away. You're not a professional gambler that sits around every single day wagering on as much action as you can. That's not you.
Exactly.
But there are gamblers out there like that, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. But keep in mind, that type of person, man, you have to have a big bank account. You really, in order to get that. Again, you can do it for fun. Nobody's saying you can't do live wagering, first half wagering. That's fine. Do it for fun. But if you really want to make money, especially on live wagering, I think you have to do it a lot, and you have to be pretty good at it.
You have to be real good at it. And I think, truthfully, it's more a feel than it is a statistical computer money grind. If you have a good feel for the game, and there's some people that really do. Steve Fezzik's a good friend of mine and very, very popular professional handicapper in Las Vegas, the only man to ever win 2 Super Book contests. He did in back-to-back years. He takes advantage of anything that there's an advantage to be taken care of. And so hence he's in on in-game wagering. And I'll just give you a small little snippet of things that he does. I'm not going to give away the ranch, because I don't know what the ranch is. But what he'll do for instance, is if a NFL football game starts out and one team receives the ball, that means they're going to be kicking the ball the second half. He'll jump right away into that second half bet and look to play against the team that's kicking the ball as opposed to the team that's receiving the ball.
Because you got the extra possession.
Exactly. Most probably you do. Okay.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, that's at least the starting point when it comes to second half wagering.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to do, make sure your team has the ball first.
Yeah.
And see which way the flow is going to dictate. So it's things like that, those nuances that professional people who handicap props, parlays, teasers, all these things you're talking about look for. But again, I just kind of like I say, I keep using that phrase, stay in my lane is what I like to do.
Matt wants to know, do you ever buy points?
This is a really interesting question. Do I buy points? Yes. Should I buy points? No. But when I do buy points, I buy them where, I'm not going to, if you're going to buy a 3 from a 2.5 to a 3, it's going to cost you because they basically priced the game 20 cents more from the 2.5 to the 3. But the only time I would consider that is the game was priced accordingly. So instead of it being 3 minus 110 and you're going to lay 130, I would look to play that if they were even or plus 105 and then play it up so you can get it with a little bit of less juice in the football game. When I had dinner one time with a good friend of mine who was a legendary customer of mine and also a legendary professional gambler. His name was Southern Comfort. And he passed away. And before he passed, on his 70th birthday, his wife threw a surprise birthday party for him and invited myself and Dave Malinsky and Billy Walters and a bunch of other gamblers into town for the show. And I had the privilege of sitting at the table with Billy Walters and my friend Southern Comfort, Dave Malinsky, and myself. And so I was peppering Billy with all kinds of questions. And he probably felt like, did I come here to do an interview or did I just come here and have a good time? But I remember the one question I asked him, and I said, Billy, do you ever buy points? And he looked at me and he said, do I buy points? I don't have to buy points. I create points. And That was the end of that conversation. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's sort of like, I know I've heard this talked about with you guys before, and I haven't really dove into it, but where you've mentioned how certain handicappers, and we're talking about the big ones, will wager on or will push the point spread,
right,
a certain way in order to have an advantage the opposite way. What exactly is that all about? That whole idea of, well, why is he pushing it that way? That even though he doesn't like that team, he's laying money on the team to move the number, even though he's taking the other side. That's always confused me.
You're talking about a lot. That was a betting pattern that Billy Walters would do because,
yes,
he basically had a lot of beards in the country, and all they did was, he'd send out an order in a game. I want Virginia +7, and anybody in his family, and he probably had 100 people around the country making bets for him. So anybody in his family that found the 7 bought the 7 and reported it back to him. But there's also the case in point where it became obvious that he was buying the 7, not to bet the 7. He was buying the 7 to be able to bet the other side of the game come kickoff, when he would have tremendous value in the football game. So he would take himself off the game and onto the other side, and he had himself a big position in the football game. So, there's two schools of thought to that. But, first of all, I don't have a network of people.
Yeah, sure.
I don't bet enough money like Billy Walters to be able to move points. Okay.
Yeah.
And create lines and so forth and whatnot. So, I just sort of stick to the basics here. And, it goes back to that first question you asked me about buying points. Well, the only time I'll buy points is if the juice is in my favor, and the juice allows me to do that.
Yeah. And the time that I actually like, the time that I usually only buy points myself is if I have a parlay, or like, for instance, I had the Indiana parlay last week that I got screwed on, where it was 7.5, and I had like an 8-teamer. So of course I have 8-teamer. Why would I want to stick at 7.5? Let's move it to 7. And of course, if I would have got the push on that, which I should have, then that could have saved me $500 just making that one move. But again, I'm not a major gambler like most of you guys, most of the people even that are watching. And if I was doing straight wagers, I can see the reason why you'd want to do it. But again, I also heard the other side where a lot of handicappers have said, statistically speaking, it's not worth it. And I guess everybody's different, but that's what I've heard. I've heard that over time, the more money you start putting into all of that, additional juice, just doesn't really pay off in the long run.
No, it doesn't. It simply doesn't. And it's there because the bookmakers want to offer it for a reason, because it's beneficial to them.
Yeah, because you're not going to really, will you lose sometimes when you didn't move it to 7 when it was 7.5 and the game was 7? Oh, why didn't I buy the half point? Sure, it's going to happen. But statistically speaking, it doesn't happen enough if you're one of those wagerers, if you're somebody who does it a lot. Obviously, if you do it a few games a week, I think that's different. And if you want to buy a half a point, I'd say go ahead. Okay.
If you one thing before you move on here, if you are a person who kicks themselves in the rear end for not getting the game at +7 and could have, don't buy the point to get the half point to get to 7. Let it go, because there'll be another game that will come along somewhere down the line in a situation where you will be able to bet a game at a premium number. And if you missed one, so be it. Missed one. Don't go chasing. Okay.
Oh yeah, that is a discussion in its own.
Yes.
Don't go chasing.
Right.
No question. A lot of people do that, especially if they get off to bad starts. That's the thing you have to learn and I think you should, is if you get off to a bad start, if you're a college football and an NFL gambler, and you just got off to a bad start on Saturday, I know when I do, that usually means I'm not turning it around. It's going to be a long weekend. It happens. It's just the way it is. But in the past, I used to just, okay, well, I lost 50, so now I want to bet 70. Oh, I lost 120. Well, now I want to bet 140. You can't do that, especially because if you don't already like the games at the beginning of the week that you're chasing, then that means that that opinion hasn't changed. You're just now betting to try to make up for the losses, when you should just take your losses and start over next week.
Chasing is good in car racing, horse racing, but not in football.
Horse racing and NASCAR. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So let's get to it. It looks like Jim is not going to make it this week, which is unfortunate, but he has a personal situation that he's handling.
Right.
Yep. So he needs the day off, which is obviously something he's going to get. And we're going to start off with, tell you what, let's get into the NFL then. We'll go over a couple of games here. We have enough time for a couple of games in both the NFL and college football. We'll be on for about another 25 minutes just to let everybody know what our schedule is going to be. And we're going to start off with the game on Sunday morning, and that is going to be the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. And this is one of those games where you cannot wager on this game without understanding the injury factor. And there's a lot of this happening, as we talked about yesterday. This is becoming big news in the NFL. I'm sure the NFL front office doesn't want any of this to get out there, but sooner or later, I think it should. I don't think we've heard enough of it with the mainstream media, and maybe that's because, they're partners with the NFL and they don't want to bash them too much, but sooner or later, I think it should come out. I think this is becoming a huge story, all the injuries. And right here, all you got to do is take a look at it. Minnesota will be down 3 offensive line starters. Of course, no Aaron Jones. Say what you want about J.J. McCarthy, but he is their starting quarterback. And then for Cleveland, they already have DeJuan Jones on IR. So he's out for the season. Conklin, the other tackle, looks like he's been out. Right. He's been out. Looks like he's questionable for this game. Tillman, the starting number 2 receivers, out. He's on IR, and Dylan Gabriel gets the start. The line has gone up to 4.5. It started off right about 3. So a lot of people are hitting the Vikings here, Mark. And I wonder if some of that has to do with the fact that, they think about it. They go, well, Minnesota's already been in Europe. Cleveland's got to take the trip to Europe. I definitely think there's a factor there. No question about it. Minnesota's also a better team. But Cleveland's got themselves maybe a little bit of a rookie quarterback bump going on here, which Minnesota took advantage of a couple of weeks ago when Carson Wentz came in and he blew out Cincinnati. And the Cleveland Browns have a very good defense, maybe the best defense in the NFL right now, and the best pass rusher going up against that depleted offensive line.
Yeah, I think people see one side of a game when it comes to injuries, Greg, and they don't look at the other side, as you mentioned. You opened it up really rather well, explaining Minnesota's injury situation. And then there's the Cleveland Browns and their injury situation. But what are people doing? They're bypassing that, and they're looking at Dylan Gabriel in for the Cleveland Browns rather than Joe Flacco. There's a 1.5 between the two quarterbacks. That's the 1.5 move in the game, because I think the injuries in this game more or less square each other out per se. So I think the move is going to Minnesota largely because of the quarterback change, which I do not agree with. Sometimes you'll find a first start for a quarterback ends up being one of his best starts because this is something he's really, for his whole life, has been pointing toward. And everything I understand about Dylan Gabriel, he's a very intelligent individual, can read defenses as good as anybody, and has a cannon for an arm. So if the Browns can put an offense around him, I think they've got a chance in this football game. Cleveland is the only team in the AFC North that is not winless in the stats this year. The other 3 teams, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, collectively are 0-12 in the stats. The Browns are the only team that has 2 stat wins. So kudos to Cleveland. I like them plus the points.
And that's mainly because of the very good defense that they have started the season. Now, thank goodness for this defense, because this has definitely been carrying them. Well, Jim Feist has decided to join us.
Nice.
Well, it wasn't my decision. It was just the phone call that didn't last as long as I thought it might.
So what do you think about this matchup,
Jim, or not?
It had, and I should fill you in personally about
this.
Yeah,
you will, right.
But it was better than, maybe it wasn't 100%, but it was 70 or 80%.
Good.
So that's good.
Good. You
but
can build on that.
Will, next Friday, I will definitely not be here because I'll be in LA doing more medical stuff all day.
Well, it's that positive attitude, Jim. That's why it's 70 to 80% today.
Well, I've always had a positive attitude my entire life. because you go through struggles, you really learn that you're no different than anybody else. Everybody has troubles, and it's not the troubles that you're dealt in life. It's how you deal with them,
how you react to them. Right.
It really is. It's an old saying. You plan a picnic and it starts to rain. You got to learn how to have a picnic in the rain and not complain and bitch and moan and why me and all that stuff, because everybody has stuff, everybody has stuff.
Well, just stick with my good friend Howard Eskin's philosophy, Jim, and his motto. In fact, he has it up on his website. Is never had a bad day in my life.
I love it.
Isn't that nice? Never had a bad day in my life. When you ask him, that's all he'll answer you.
Well, the truth is, life is such. This is about football. It's not. But we are talking a little bit about life too, because we are. We're in that boat. We all face this, but life is such a blessing. It's a gift, and not everybody. Mark, you and I are, 7, 8 decades in this business, or 7, 8 decades on this earth, I should say. And not everybody has that blessing. Not everybody, and so many people pass in their 30s and 40s and 50s and get serious illnesses. I mean, we've gone a long way. It's a blessing. Every day's a blessing. And you wake up in the morning, you make it a good day, even if you're carrying a load on your shoulders, you got to make it a good day. It's just somehow it's a mindset. You change your mind, you change your elevation in life.
You are indeed one of the most positive people that I've come across in my circle, Jim, and never complain about anything and whine and cry and complain. All you do is address it, deal with it, think positive, and move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you have to also have that attitude, or at least it helps when you're a professional gambler. So,
well, there's a great saying that I actually use as my motto for I guess it applies to life too, but I've always used it for gambling. If you can't be comfortable being uncomfortable, you should not be in this business.
That's a great saying. Right.
And that's been my motto for like 50 years. I mean, this is insane. You bet on, I mean, so many people, I lost in the under last night. I had the under. Mark, you're the only human being on earth that had San Francisco
last night.
Because the entire world loved the Rams, and the bookmakers have to be really happy today because everybody lost. I lost on the total, but I didn't have the Rams. I would not lay that inflated price. I mean, you got inflated prices going on today too, this week too, but it's just you take bad beats. Like we all had the Rams. I was sitting with Bill Krakenberger the other day. He had 4.5 with the Rams when they played Philadelphia. 4.5. You couldn't even find that number.
Well, I had 4, and I thought I was stealing.
I had 3.5.
Wow.
And I got one little tidbit on 4. So that was like a 15-dime loss. When they picks up the ball, he runs down the field. I mean, it's like, fall on the floor, fall down, please. But it's insane.
It's really like that Indiana play last week.
Okay, I did some research on that. Now, I know you lost on that game, that big parlay, but the team had called 3 timeouts in a row to piss off the other team. They did. All they were trying to do is run out the clock, and he kept calling timeouts, and all he was trying to do was rub it in and piss off the team. And they paid him back by doing that.
Yes, they did.
Yep. So there was another side. There was a lot of petty crap going on in that game, both sides.
All right. So just so you know, Jim, we have only 17 minutes left with Mark. So we haven't even talked college yet. So let's try to get through this NFL here quickly. Your quick take on Minnesota, Cleveland?
Well, I'm going to go with Mark. His analysis is very deep. I can't believe when was the last time you saw a 35 on a total in the NFL? But the Cleveland defense is for real. Now, if this kid can give them any spark, this could be Well, it's a slobber knocker for sure.
There you go.
Well, if I could take, DraftKings has 4.5, and I look at I don't see anything else higher than 3.5 anywhere else except DraftKings, and not everybody can play at DraftKings. I can't. I'm in Vegas. You can't play DraftKings in Vegas. But if you could get at least a 4, you might want to take the dog. And I can't advise betting under 35.5 or 36. I just can't do it. It's kind of a game, maybe live betting. You get involved in the game and you can see what's going on. But Cleveland has, Mark, I'm sure you pointed out, they've been incredible on defense.
Yes, they have.
And you said in the stats, if they can get any kind of spark with Baltimore suffering and Cincinnati totally dog meat this year, Cleveland has a chance. They got
Detroit's at Cincinnati. This one's actually a late game, an unusual 4:25 Eastern start in Cincinnati. And this line started out at 8, moved quickly up to 10. And you could all understand why, the way the Lions are playing, the way the Bengals are playing. Keep in mind, no DJ Reed, and that's important because he's their number 1 corner. And he is out. He's now on IR, and they're going up against the 2 top wide receiver duo in the league. They are looking to get McNeil back, which is going to be important, but he may not come back this week. So keep an eye on that. When he does come back, that'll be a big boost to Detroit. For Cincinnati, things have not gone well, Mark, for the Bengals over the last couple of weeks, but they're back home and they're desperate. And to me, I actually think this is a dangerous game. It's almost like too easy. Of course, you're going to take Detroit. Look at Detroit's record. Look at Campbell's record. Look at the way the Bengals have been blown out the last couple of weeks. And it's those types of games that actually, especially when the home team is desperate and Detroit's got their share of injuries, that I don't know. This game could actually be a little bit closer than people think.
Well, you call those, I call those ABOs, always beware of the obvious. And, it's obvious Cincinnati is really hurting right now. And Detroit is a beast in the NFC. But then again, I see this football team, their last 25 road games, they've cashed 20 times. They play much better on the road than they do at home in Detroit, which means I'm going to probably just sit back and watch the football game because I don't want to bet on a bad team like Cincinnati against a good team like Detroit. Yep. So you don't have to play every game, and this is one that I won't be playing.
I'll tell you what, 100% agree. How about if you start watching the game and Cincinnati somehow gets up 7 or 10-0? Okay, now here's your live betting opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, because Detroit is a machine. They might be the best team in the NFC. They could be.
Yes.
When you look at how Philadelphia has been winning, and Mark pointed it out yesterday on the ATS show, they've been winning ugly. This Detroit team in the 3 games, since they lost that first game, they're winning very pretty. They're doing a lot of good things. I'd love to see Cincinnati take a lead in this game, and then I'm coming back with both fists on really.
Well, that's a great inline situation. We were talking about that before you got on, Jim, and I don't do that, but there are situations where you do that, and that's exactly one where you just mentioned a prohibitive favorite that's trailing in the football game, and the price gets adjusted accordingly. You know who's going to end up winning that game, so snap the rubber band time it comes for Detroit.
And then our last game is the Sunday night game between the Patriots and the Bills, and the line has bumped up to 8.5 from 7, and really that happened right after the news came out that 3 important starters for the Bills were practicing on Wednesday. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver, linebacker Matt Milano, and also they're starting offensive tackle. So those are 3 big players, including the two of their better players on defense. So they're coming back at the right time. Patriots are only playing their second road game of the season. They won their first one at Miami. The Patriots have also covered 4 straight against the Bills in this series. But what do you think? What do you think, Jim? Is this one where you think that line is starting to get a little too high, and this Patriots might be a good play?
Game opened up at a book that I play with. I won't mention names. Opened up 9. I took it. That tells you what I like. I like the Patriots. Now, you always have a question mark when you have a young quarterback. I mean, they can do all kinds of crazy things. I mean, they lost to Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago with the team turned the ball over 5 times. Pittsburgh should have never won that game. Buffalo is not a strong defensive team, especially in the back end of their defense. Now, getting players back does not hurt, depending on what their condition is and if they're going to play near 100% or not. So my thing here in this game, if the weather is good, and Buffalo is one of those kind of places where you need to check the weather late, because it's one of those places where if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, it'll change. It's, that's where it is. It's located right up there on the water, and Niagara Falls and all the other stuff going on over there. But I like the game over, and I like the Patriots.
Mark?
I think it's a tough football game. Again, I don't want to ever lay this kind of number in a division game, so I can see exactly where Jim is coming from in a contest like this. And just up until last week, New England was winning the hearts and the fans and the wallets of quite a few bettors in the National Football League. They cashed against Carolina, gotten off to a pretty decent start here, 2-2 for a football team with the new head coach. I don't think there's any quit in this football team. I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to allow that. Now, will Buffalo play down to their level? That's a question. Being a division opponent, probably not. But I can see where Jim's coming from here. If I had to play this game, I would grab the points.
Before we let you go, Jim, do you have a pick, or did you already give it to us?
In what?
A free pick. You have a free pick for the viewers before we let you go.
Oh, I did send it to you. I said it was the Patriots.
There you go. Yeah, well, you're here, though.
If you need another one.
No,
I'll bet he has another one.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I don't want to.
Like.
I mean, that's kind of the funny, because I just said it, and then you want another one. But I'll give you another one. Denver to straight up win over Philadelphia.
All right, that's a money line.
I'm going to tell you. Mark pointed it out yesterday. Philadelphia is winning all these games, not winning in the stats, and that is not a good. That cannot survive forever. I mean, Denver is well coached. Again, and this is the question about some of these teams with these second-year quarterbacks. You just don't know if they're going to regress, and if they are, when's it going to happen? You just don't know. And there's a little bit of a guessing game going on, because you're not going to get any regression out of Hurts, and you're not going to get any regression out of Josh Allen for Buffalo. So you're kind of playing with fire with that a little bit, but. I like Denver, and I like in New England.
All right, Jim. Good to have you on as always. We'll look forward to talking to you again early next week. We'll also be posting the video you just did with Victor. You recorded that a couple hours ago. That's going to be available in a few hours right here on Proline TV. So I'm sure you have.
Victor did a great job as usual.
Yes.
And we even talked about Tuco, who's been
really?
Yeah, Tuco.
Well, he and you are two huge dog lovers. I do know that for sure.
You're right about that.
Yes, you are.
See you guys.
Hey,
Thanks,
Jimmy,
Jim.
have a good one. I'll catch up with you, guy. Be well, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So now we've got a few minutes left. Let's turn our attention to college football. And the first one here might actually be the biggest game of the weekend. And that is Vanderbilt and Alabama. It's the SEC game of the week at 3:30. And Vanderbilt, I think a lot of people now are starting to slowly catch on, Mark, what we've talked about this Vanderbilt team even last year and the beginning of this year, that this is a for real team. They're the perfect team for these times as well, because everybody knows how much parity there is in the SEC at this point. And with all that parity, I think everybody's also realizing that there's not a whole lot of difference talent-wise now between the Alabamas and the Vanderbilts of the world. Alabama still has more talent. We know that there's no doubt. But when a team like Vanderbilt can get themselves a quarterback like Diego Pavia it changes everything for them. And they only have him for another half a season. Then he's gone and he'll never play again for college football. So they got to milk this as much as they can. And Pavia is 14-2 against the spread as a road dog. Alabama, meanwhile, 6-2 against the spread. Their last 8 when they come off an upset win like they did against Georgia last week. I didn't even need the Alabama trend to stick with Vandy here. And I even think the money line play is not the wildest, craziest idea in the world.
I don't think it is either, Greg. If this is another one of these things I call tape jobs. And if you put tape over the names of these two teams and didn't know who they were and looked at their body of work for the football season, you might ask yourself who's favored in this game. Nothing Vanderbilt has done this year has been wrong or bad at all. The biggest obstacle they're going to overcome will be Alabama's desire to extract revenge from that embarrassing loss last year. But that doesn't mean they're going to do it. They may go into the football game doing that, but they're taking on a football team in Vanderbilt that's hitting on all cylinders right now. And I couldn't only look to Vanderbilt's way in this game. In fact, we play our game of double-digit dogs that can win straight up. I think you got to look long and hard at Vanderbilt here.
You know what? I also think it's kind of funny when you get these teams like these juggernauts like Alabama, and they like dominate teams like Vanderbilt all these years and blow them out and blow them out and blow them out. And then the David comes up, beats Goliath one year, and then Goliath feels like the next year, oh, we've got to get revenge on David. How dare he beat us after we've annihilated them for the past 12? How dare they?
Yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me? You really need that psychological motivation to beat this team for like the 15th or 18th time in the last 19 years. I mean, I think that's kind of silly, but hey, you got to use motivation anytime, any way you can get it. And I'm sure that's exactly what Kalen DeBoer is going to try to do.
You know, in our newsletter this week, we have a feature called the Smart Box. I keep alluding to this, but I do because it's well worth reading. And this week's Smart Box is dealing with 5-0 football teams. We call them 5-0 Fat Cats. And in Game 6, the rule is you play against them as favorites and you play on them as underdogs. You have 2 5-0 underdogs this week, of which I'll set this table for you. An underdog in Game 6 that's coming off a double-digit win, taking on an opponent that they beat in the most recent time. Those teams are 11-0 against the spread.
Oh.
That's a roll for Vanderbilt this week, and it's a roll also for Iowa State. I'm going to ask you this question also, Greg. If Vanderbilt wins this game, Pavia is going to zoom up the Heisman Trophy ladder. Do you think that he could go favorite if they win this football game?
I think anything's possible because of how if you take a look at the award odds right now, it's like every week it changes because there's no definitive leader in this group. And even Dante Moore is now at the lead. And okay, Oregon beat Penn State, but it wasn't like Dante Moore did anything special. They just won the game, and he's on probably the best team right now in college football in week 6. And that could change in week 7. So absolutely, I think I'd say all he has to do. But if he can come out with a huge game, no doubt about it. If you think that's possible, take him now before the odds drop. They're in here somewhere. Where did he go? Couldn't have dropped that far. I thought he was going to be right around here. Where is he? He can't be down here, right? How come they don't have him here? Did I miss him? Where is Pavia? Oh, there he is. Okay. He's getting a lot of respect already at 17-1. I didn't expect that.
Oh.
Okay. So absolutely. He can go from 17-1 to right up here without a doubt, especially if he has that really big game. It is amazing, because he was over probably 100-1 when the season began. And also take a look at Vanderbilt, because if you think Vanderbilt has a chance to win this game, take a look at their SEC odds, take a look at their national championship odds, because they are big. And you could definitely capitalize on that if they can pull off the win. And, even if they don't pull off the win and it's a close loss, they still have a chance to be a playoff team as long as they just keep doing what they're doing. And, I have to look at their schedule, but I think they could be a 2-loss playoff team if everything goes their way. Speaking of SEC teams, I want to talk about another SEC game because we both think that this is a possible upset as a double-digit play, and that is Mississippi State at Texas A&M. The line itself is really tempting because of how big it's grown, up to 16.5 now.
Wow.
I don't understand why this keeps getting higher. There's no major injuries that I've noticed. And Mississippi State 4-0 this year against the spread. Texas A&M 1-3 against the spread.
Well, the last 5 times Mississippi State has taken to the road and they have a double revenge chip on their shoulder, they've cashed all 5 tickets. And this might be the best of those Mississippi State teams that I just alluded to. They're playing some really, really good football right now. There's nothing phony, again, about what it is they're doing. And you've got here in Texas A&M a football team that I've seen countless times under different coaches that when like a yo-yo, when they're supposed to be going up, they're coming down, and vice versa the other football way. I think this is a great spot for Mississippi State to go in there and just scare the daylights out of Texas A&M. You have to grab the points here.
Yeah, and take the money line, because if it is a 4-quarter game, all they need is a break, and they could possibly pull this upset off. By the way, Jeff Levy 4-1 against the spread as a road dog in year 2, and Elko in year 2 3-11 against the spread as a favorite. Okay, so let's take a look at that other 5-0 dog because I don't like this one, and I only say that because beginning of the season. Cincinnati was on my list as a Big 12 sleeper, and so far they've come through for me. And they had that nice upset win at Kansas last week, and here they are now against an undefeated team. Now it's only 1.5, so you got to keep this in mind. This is the type of number that can quickly change before game time. It's possible, but if it doesn't change, Mark, and Iowa State is the dog in this game, then this is another one of those situations that you just talked about. They're a 5-0 dog.
Right. And if they go to 1.5 favorite, they're a 5-0 fade as a favorite.
Interesting how that could change.
Right. Exactly. It just depends on what side of the street you're looking at here.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good things about the Cyclones here. I mean, this is a really, really good football team. When they go up against teams that they've beaten twice, they're really, really good against the spread. It's a domination type thing for Matt Campbell, who doesn't get all the love I think Matt Campbell deserves. I think they're the team to beat right now in the Big 12 conference as well. Cincinnati's kind of catching people's attention here a little bit, but can they pull the rug in a win-like situation? Win is like plus or minus 1.5. I'm going to stay with Iowa State and stick with that smart dog, fat cat dog in this football game.
Yeah, also Iowa State 7-2 against the spread their last 9 as a road dog, and Cincinnati 3-9 against the spread their last 12 as a home favorite. And then there is just quickly because I wanted to also ask you about this Duke-Cal game. This is an underrated ACC game that's going to be, I think, the latest game of the weekend. It's I'm not sure who's going to be watching it, but it's a good game. It's 2 teams that are fighting for respectability in the ACC right now. Duke is a 3-point favorite here, and Cal has a true freshman quarterback that's been really playing well for them. Even though they lost Mendoza, very fortunate to find this true freshman that's really putting him in a good spot here to open the season at 4-1, coming off a nice upset win against Boston College. The thing I am a little bit worried about Cal, and it's the same thing that I'll say next week with Washington when they host Rutgers, is this whole thing about when these teams like Washington and Cal are in the Big Ten and the ACC, that means there's potential travel issues. And check this out, Cal, 9/20, September 20th, was on the West Coast. Then 9/27, Boston College, East Coast. Then this week, back home, West Coast. That's a lot of traveling back and forth. That could take a toll. But Cal is 9-2 against the spread as a home dog since 2020. And Duke is 3-0 as a road favorite under Manny Diaz in year 2.
Well, I think what works in this football game, Greg, is the geography. Having to go from East Coast to West Coast for Duke, who's not a juggernaut by any means.
That's true.
And, Manny Diaz has been known to not show up for certain football games, or his teams have been that way. And again, I keep saying, we like certain coaches. We like Justin Wilcox. This is a great spot for California to get themselves in the game, in the bowl picture, and do all those good sorts of things here. I like California at the beginning of the football season, and I like them here against Duke.
And then final plays, and we're going to go head-to-head on this one. And that is, we talked about at the very beginning of our broadcast about wagering on teams from the Conference USA. So I like Delaware. You like Western Kentucky, and I'll give the reasons I like Delaware. So Ryan Carty's done a really good job with this FCS program. FBS season, first year. They've already upset UConn and FIU. They almost won the yards in the matchup with Colorado, UConn, and FIU. Very, very small. They lost those yards. And they are also the most experienced team in the Conference USA, even though it's their first year there. Also, Ryan Carty's teams are 20-3 at home. Of course, this is a different Conference USA team. It's not FIU. It's one of the better teams in the Conference USA. Western Kentucky at 4-1. This is actually one of the biggest games of the year in the Conference USA.
Yeah, as far as Conference USA teams go, Western Kentucky, it would only be James Madison that would probably command a little more attention for Delaware. But I like the offense and the defense for Western Kentucky. They're superior to Delaware's, and Delaware is making this noise here right now out of the gate, which is all good and fine for them. But what are you seeing for the line in this game here, Greg?
3 Delaware.
Now you're asking the new kid in the block to lay points into a team that's really well established as an underdog, especially as a road dog. Better offense, better defense, better take the points. That's my adage here. Western Kentucky plus.
All right, and then let's get into another upset play. Let's get in one more straight upset play. So actually, you have a couple, and I have a couple. I'm going to go with Virginia. I think that as long as they can get off to a decent start and get over the emotion of the win last week against Florida State, I think they could go there at Louisville. This could be a very high-scoring game, by the way, if you want to go total. But I think this could be a really good game down on the wire. Also, UAB, I believe that they're ripe for an upset win this year. John Kitna's son, is doing really well at UAB. Trent Dilfer is, of course, guiding him. He was a big-time Florida recruit. He's starting to play well this season for UAB. So, and Army's struggling so far this year. As far as your 2 picks, as far as just single-digit upset plays, who do you like?
I like the Florida Gators this week. I think this is a critical game for Florida in this football contest here. The only thing I don't like is this number is getting away. You could have taken 7 earlier in the week and down to 4.5. And I don't like chasing a dog that used to be something and isn't right now. But I think this is a good spot for Florida. Billy Napier needs this game like a vampire needs blood. And the other game that I like is the Purdue Boilermakers. I think this football team is really hidden and really under the radar this season. Barry Odom come over here, and we all know about Barry Odom. All he does is wins and cashes tickets wherever he goes. He's undefeated this football season here, and you're taking a healthy amount of points here. I like Purdue in the upset here for my other play.
Yeah, and keep this in mind. Purdue beaten Illinois 4 of the last 5 years, covering 3 of the last 5. The only loss was last year. They lost 50-49 as a 22-point road dog. So they have owned Illinois the last 5 years. And I can see why. The only thing for me is if Illinois loses this game after getting blown out by Indiana and then coming back with the biggest gut check of all time against USC, and then they go to Purdue and lose, I mean, that would be.
Well, look who they've got on deck next, Greg.
Was it Ohio State?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay, then another look-ahead game.
Yeah, and they don't have to lose the game. There's a lot of hang time in this number here for Purdue as well.
Yeah, keep that in mind. Again, we just went over those numbers. And then finally, there's one more double-digit upset play that we both have. I'm going to take Nevada against Fresno State. I think Navy is a team, by the way, that has lost 7 times. I think it's 7 by 7 or less in year 2 of their new coach. This coach, she's pretty young, Choate. And so I definitely like the points. It's like 14. So I think Nevada could be a pretty good live double-digit underdog. And Michigan State, that's the way you're going to go as far as a double-digit. Boy, what a blow this would be for Nebraska if that happened.
Well, Nebraska, we kind of exposed them in our midweek alert newsletter and talked all about not only is Matt Rule a really good coach in years 2 and 3, but he's terrible laying points. And now you're laying a healthy amount of points here to a football team in Michigan State that needs the game probably worse than Nebraska does right now. I'm a fan of the head coach at Michigan State here. I think Nebraska's got to prove to everybody that they are back. They are indeed for real. And I think it's a great spot for Michigan State to expose them.
All right. And by the way, David, I do agree. I like Navy against Air Force. I just think Air Force's defense has been awful. I don't see how they're going to stop Navy. They've only had one road game this year, and they lost by 19, I think it was, at Utah State. And I think Navy, who blew out Air Force last year, I could see them doing that again. But that's our first military game of the season coming up on Saturday against those two programs. So it's always nice to tune in and watch a little military action on Saturday.
For sure it is.
All right, Mark. So we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for checking in with us once again. This is always going to be the last show of the week that we're going to get you ready for the weekend. If you have any questions or comments, even after the show, you can leave it in the comments section. We'll get back to you regarding any games, anything like that. Directed to Mark, Jim, or myself. Just let us know. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the program before, the channel, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button, the like button. You can do that anytime, even after you subscribe. And if you want to hit the thanks icon, that's a way that you can financially support the channel as much as $1 or anything higher than that, whatever you want. Just hit that thanks icon and then send us a message of why you are supporting the channel, and we'll make sure to let everybody know that you did. So, Mark, have a great weekend. Looking forward to talking to you again next week as we start the show, as we call it, all over again.
Well, I look forward to that, Greg. We're going to wish you the best of luck, and wish our good friend David good best of luck. He's a big booster of the show. We like hearing from him. So best of luck around to everybody this week, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Okay. See you, everybody.